Hi! Welcome to She Shines and Thrives, a channel where I chronicle moving from a 9-to-5 to living my best life on my own terms. Welcome or welcome back. On today's episode, I'm going to continue on reviewing some sets of palettes from the Left Behind group. This time around, instead of reviewing 3 at a time, I bumped it up to 6 at a time. So I want to introduce the palettes to you to give you an idea of the looks that I'm going to be coming up with and palettes that I'm going to be playing around with. And just like the other set, I'll play around with them, refamiliarize myself with these palettes, and then put them on the chopping block. Are they staying or are they getting cut? So let's get to it. Like I said in my intro, I have 6 palettes that I want to introduce to you from the Left Behind group, which was some set of eyeshadow palettes that I decided to leave behind when I was evacuating for an emergency. I didn't think I would miss them, so I was like, you're out of here. I can only take so much. And so they were left behind. But now, thank goodness, I did not have to evacuate. So I'm going to be reviewing all of the palettes that I left behind to see if they actually should have been left behind. And if I don't like them or if they don't meet my standards, they're gonna be out of here. The first one is the Natasha Denona. It is the mini Lila palette. And I decided to try this palette, which is actually my only Natasha Denona palette that I have in my collection. But I wanted to try this palette, a smaller version of Natasha's palette, before I jumped into like a huge palette. I think that Natasha Denona has some wonderful color stories, and there's been a couple of times where I've just almost pulled that trigger, but I wasn't too sure of the formula, and so I wanted to just dip my toe in a little bit and see what we had going on before I decided to purchase any bigger palettes. So that's palette number 1, Natasha Denona, the mini Lila palette. The second palette is the viseart Petite for Tyrian palette. Now, this palette really spoke to me because I love purple, and it has like a deep, like a smoky purple and like a shimmery color purple. And I just was really excited, even though it is a 4-pan, Petite 4, 4-pan palette. I thought that I could come up with some really interesting looks. And before evacuation notices were sent, I probably used it twice. So I decided to leave it behind. And so now I'm opening it up and I want to play with it a little bit more before I make a decision as to whether I want to keep it or whether I want to chuck it. So the next palette is Huda Beauty Amethyst Obsessions. Like I said, I love the color purple. So this palette was right up my alley. The only thing that I am concerned about, or I was concerned about, was that it was so monochromatic. It had different like mattes and shimmers and all the different formulas, but it was still a lot of the same color. So I wasn't quite sure, picked it up anyway, and I've been holding on to it, and I played with it plenty of times, but I haven't touched it in a while. So that's why it was initially left behind. But I will refamiliarize myself with this palette and get back to you on whether it's getting cut or staying with me. This next palette is the patmcgrathlabs Blitz Astral Quad Nocturnal Nirvana. Now, I got this palette because I really wanted to challenge myself to use color. Usually my jam is basically like nudes and neutrals, but I was like, I need to get into color. I see all of these beautiful makeup looks that people are doing, and it's all these beautiful colors and combinations, and I wanted to challenge myself. Well, I have not used this palette once. So I definitely left it behind because I hadn't even used it. The next palette is the Juviasplace, the Nubian. And again, I am a neutral nudes kind of girl, so this fit right up my alley. It has more of a peachy coral tone to it, more so than like a brown or a tan. And I played in this palette. I've done plenty of looks, and although this palette is somewhat monochromatic just because of the coral peachy vibe, I've been able to do so many different looks, and I left it behind simply because I hadn't picked it up in a very long time. So I'm not sure, I wasn't sure if I was over it or if it still had a place in my heart, but we shall see whether I keep it or chuck it. Now the last palette is the Nabla Secret palette, and I really like Nabla as a brand, and I know they are in Ulta. I'm not really sure if they're anywhere else. I haven't really seen them in like a drugstore or Sephora, but they were in Ulta. And they have just the cutest color stories, and I just wanted to give them a try. It wasn't too expensive. It was very reasonable, and I just wanted to see what looks I could get from this palette. Another palette that is neutral with pops of color, and I thought that I would be able to challenge myself. And interestingly enough, I have used this palette quite a few times. And each of the looks that I've come up with, I've been pleasantly surprised, because just looking at the color stories kind of for my brain and how I process color, it wasn't really molding and blending. And so every time I open and use this palette, it's like a box of chocolates. So that's why I left it behind when I was deciding on which palettes to take. And that is the 6th and final palette that I will be playing with, getting back familiar with, and coming up with some looks. So until next time, keep shining and thriving. Bye.